night. Haven't made a video in a little while, so I figured I would. And I started thinking about it, and there's a comparison that can be drawn between John Kennedy, President John Kennedy and his family, and the Biden family. Start off with the Kennedys. Kennedys was commonly called Shanty Irish out of Boston, Massachusetts, and Prohibition came around, and Joe Kennedy made it big. He was running, Canadian liquor where it was legal in ships off the coast, and then they were picking it up and in other boats, and then running the Coast Guard cutters, bringing it in, and he was supplying, central, northern, east coast with liquor from his boats. He made a lot of money, bought a lot of influence, and wound up becoming the ambassador to London, or to England in London. Sided with Adolf Hitler, and then when war was declared on the United States, switched sides again and decided he was against Hitler. Had this big legacy in mind. So he had his oldest two sons, Joe Jr. and John, join the service. Joe joined the Air Force, I believe, and John joined the Navy. Joe was shot down on a mission. Because his father was an ambassador, he probably wasn't supposed to go anyplace dangerous, and he got shot down. Who knows what his future would have held. John was on a PT boat that got too close to a Japanese ship and got cut in half. And the famous story of him being a great swimmer, rescued his crew and swam them all to an island, and kind of parlayed that into becoming a senator, and then from the Senate he ran and won the presidency. Funny how things go. The Kennedy complex in Florida was right around the corner from where my mother grew up, and they knew the Kennedys. Joe was the guy that had his act together. John was a big screw up, but he had a good head on his shoulders. Ted was the youngest. He was just a spoiled brat, and that's what I've been told of it. Years later, shortly before it was Kennedy complex was sold, Ted had a problem with getting really drunk and waking up naked in other people's yards, but that's a story for another day. Then you go to Joe Biden. His parents came from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Not a place to get rich in. Wound up leaving, from what I understand, when he was 4. And they moved to Dover, Delaware, where I guess his father got a job in a refinery or one of the chemical plants. And Joe grew up there. Joe was a screw up. He's the biggest thing to ever hit the big screen with contradictions. He claims that he's all for the military. During Vietnam, he got 6 deferments. 6 times he was called in and he didn't go. And he's complaining about Donald Trump. And his thing was, he was in college, he got married, he had a kid. Lots of guys went over there and were married and had kids. When I was in grammar school, I knew kids whose fathers had died in Vietnam. So Joe, I'm not sold on that. Joe's all about equal rights, and when somebody ran against him who was black, his response was, "We already got one N-word know-it-all in Dover. We don't need another N-word know-it-all in Washington, D.C. So, no. He's all for helping the poor out now, and just, you know, but he supported all the rioting until the polling showed that it was no good. Now he's for law and order, and that's a little bit consistent because he's the one who pushed the Clinton crime bill back in the 90s through the Senate when it really didn't have any support, and that's the bill that Hillary Clinton said was labeling all the young black men as super predators. So that kind of ties in with his racism thing. But as far as law and order, he was the one that got it through the Senate. He pushed it through by him pretty much single-handedly. He's given credit for it, and that's what led to the out in California, different states, the private prisons that are overcrowded, the overcrowding in the prisons, what is it, something like 80% of the population in prison is black, and they're only 15% of the population. Well, Joe Biden, that's on you. So back to the racism thing, I don't think he really cares. Now he's saw that he's all for veterans and making sure that they get help they need. Well, he was vice president for 8 years and he didn't do a damn thing about it. The whole system collapsed under him. So I don't know how he's going to fix something that's actually seems to be working pretty well right now from vets that I know and I'm friends with. I don't think that's something he's going to do. He talks about lowering the cost of health care and fixing our broken health care system. Yeah, on that one, he was a big proponent of Obamacare, which broke it. So I don't know what his fix is, but I just can't imagine it being very good. Foreign policy, both John Kennedy and Biden have been a disaster. You had the Bay of Pigs, you had the Berlin getting closed off and us kicked out. You had China running roughshod under John Kennedy. With Obama, Biden, you had the Middle East that we were supposed to be out of in a couple of years explode into another 8 years with 4 more countries at war that we're involved in. So, and then you just have the tax suspend liberal, platform, grab money from everybody. People pushing the pundits talking about a wealth tax. And let's have a thought about that. I have a boat. It's big. It's a big, pretty boat, but it's not worth very much. But every year, I'm going to pay a tax on it just to own it. I register it. I pay the taxes on the slip where it's parked, because I own that. But every year, because it's a luxury item, I'm going to have to pay some kind of 50% of its value in tax. And okay, well that's a big yacht. Well, what if you drive to work every day in a Hyundai, and your wife drives to work, or your spouse drives to work every day in a Toyota, but for the weekends you got something cool, you got a 57 Chevy, or you got a Mustang, or you got some old classic. Well, that's a luxury. You're going to get taxed on that. You got a camper, you got a snowmobile, you got a motorcycle. They're all up for grabs. So I'm pulling into my town. This is St. Clair. There's a sign. But anybody that thinks there's anything fair or anything honest about Joe Biden better really, really look into it, because the guy's an absolute fraud. Kamala Harris, her father is Jamaican. He's not really black. Her mother is Indian. I have friends that are Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans. You can have blonde hair, blue-eyed Jamaicans. You can have black Jamaicans. You can have brown Jamaicans. The fact of the matter is that you know, you have a family get together and it looks like a UN meeting. So I'm not really, she's a nobody. She's never done anything for any minority. She never even claimed to be black until they needed somebody with some kind of pigment in her skin, a woman with pigmented skin to run. Now she's black. You got the most fraudulent ticket ever, and they're trying to screw up the whole election process so it can be a court case that'll drag on long enough so that Nancy Pelosi can be the new president. And I hope people are up in arms. I hope nobody puts up with this, because I'm not. And anyway, that's my thoughts on my ride home. And I drink and I know stuff. And this is brought to you by Green Mountain Coffee. Y'all have a great day. Bye.